Suffering is carrying on an extra weight on top of my sadness. Suffering is often a result of shame because it makes me feel worse about something. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about what exactly suffering means, what it looks like, how it manifests, especially how it manifests for Black women. And then I'm going to give you one actionable thing that you can do to end your suffering. Hey everyone, my name is Kirsten and I am a life coach for Black women, and I wanted to talk about self-care, which I know is kind of like a buzzword topic, and it can consist of anything from take a walk outside in nature, give yourself a bubble bath, take a break, but I want to go deeper and talk about the uncomfortable aspects of self-care that are equally or maybe even more important than the surface level or superficial self-care. Nothing wrong with those practices, but ultimately to cultivate self-love, you have to go deeper and you have to. So I wanted to talk about suffering. And so I'm going to read a passage from, this is my journal, if you know me really well, if you followed me for a while, I am an avid journaler. So I'm going to read something that I wrote around the topic of suffering. Kirsten, you don't have to suffer. I think your heart is used to that. It's been conditioned for that. But it's an option like everything else. Suffering is carrying on an extra weight on top of my sadness. Suffering is often a result of shame because it makes me feel worse about something. I think part of my heart believes that if I suffered long enough, I would be rewarded or someone would save me. That if I seemed that I needed to suffer in order to receive empathy. Okay, so there's a Buddhist quote, I think it's a Buddhist quote that says, I'm probably paraphrasing this, but pain is inevitable, suffering is a choice. And so what that means is, or for me, or how I interpret that is, say for example, you are at the DMV and of course there is a long line. It could be at the DMV, the store, or wherever. So you're sitting in this long line and you're like, oh my gosh, you're annoyed, you're frustrated, you have things to do, you were not expecting this, you don't want to stay most of your day in a stuffy building. So yeah, there's pain, unquote, that you're experiencing from that experience. But the suffering comes when our mind dwells on that pain and we start to complain. We start to thinking about all the things we could be doing. We start getting mad and frustrated at the workers for taking too long. That is suffering, is when we sit in this puddle. It's like you fall into a puddle of mud, and instead of just getting up, feeling a little bit frustrated that your clothes are all muddy, you just sit there in the mud and keep complaining that you're muddy instead of doing something about it. And obviously in situations of greater pain like loss or loss of a loved one or even loss of an opportunity or a job, that pain is going to feel a lot greater, and it's not just simple as just stepping out of that pain. Of course not. But you remember that if you are sitting in your pain, and if you're carrying that pain with you to every moment, to every experience, that is suffering, and that you have control of, and here's how. So the first thing is really to believe that suffering is a choice for you, and you can decide to suffer or not to suffer. If you cannot make this, or if you don't make this switch in your head, I can't say can't because you can, but if you don't make this switch in your head, if you think that suffering is just a part of life and it's nothing you can do about it, then you can probably just stop the video here, because the rest of the information is not going to help you. You first have to decide that, yeah, I can be in pain, I can be sad, I can be heartbroken, I can be frustrated, or whatever, but I don't have to suffer from it. I don't have to let this pain control every aspect of my life. So when you make that shift in your mind, the next step is to appreciate. So appreciate the things in your life that are good, and try to see the opportunity in every moment. So appreciate and see the opportunity. So going back to the analogy that I said before about waiting in a long line, okay, well, appreciate a moment to maybe call someone or reach out to a friend, that you had send a text message to a friend or a family member that you haven't spoken to in a while. Like me, take time to delete all the old photos on your phone. If you learn to appreciate opportunities and kind of look around and see that, hey, there's a lot of other good things in your life. You're alive, you're healthy. Appreciate the good in your life, and not focusing on the thing that's causing you pain will get you out of suffering. So I hope that helped, and know that this self-practice is a practice, and the practice is going to look different for everyone. Someone that's listening to this video might hear what I just said, and a light bulb flip might switch in their mind, and they can just implement everything right away. And for me, personally, it's a daily practice. Reminding myself and choosing to not suffer is a daily practice. It's a switch in my mind, and I've developed strategies and techniques to help me do that. If you feel like you are someone that needs a little bit of support in getting out of this framework and mind of suffering, because I think as Black women, we suffer a lot on the behalf of other people, and we tell ourselves that it's okay because we're helping so and so, we're making a sacrifice for someone else so that they can do A, B, and C, or that you can provide blah blah blah. We make excuses around our suffering. And so if you feel like you're stuck in that, let me know. You can click the link below, or leave me a comment, and I can give you some advice in the comments, or you can personally reach out to me with a link in my description, and we can do a one-on-one call and help you to do some coaching around this idea of suffering and how to get you out of it. And if you like this content, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more self-care practices and just how to live the better life. And let me know in the comments, if declare it today in the comments that you are going to stop your suffering. Leave a comment below and say, today I am going to stop my suffering by, and tell me how.